Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Path of the Prophets. Today we are at St. George's Church, Monastery, and Nunnery, I believe. So let's talk a little bit about the Christian monastic tradition. So Christian monasticism has several starting points as far as I'm aware, one of which is in Syria, and then a little bit later Cappadocia in Anatolia. But of course, Egypt is very important. There was a Cenobitic tradition or a hermit tradition where Christians would go and engage in asceticism. Now, asceticism is related to the word athleticism. They were spiritual athletes. They would engage in long periods of prayer, fasting, contemplation late into the night, abstaining from food, abstaining from pleasures, engaging in periods of life, of virginity, sometimes lifelong virginity. And so this asceticism was a tradition that actually precedes Christianity. And there were other groups here in Egypt that had a monastic type of tradition or a Cenobitic hermit tradition since very ancient times. But certainly here in Egypt, the Christian monastic tradition began to develop first with the hermits, and then some of the hermits would gather to worship together communally on certain days of the week. And you still see this when you go to Mount Sinai at the Eastern Orthodox Church at St. Catherine's at the foot of Mount Sinai, of Tur Sina, and Mount Catherine. You will see that many of the monks still live in caves, and then once a week, maybe perhaps more certain times of the year, they will come down and join together for singing of hymns, for praying together, for worshiping together. And so something similar began to take place in the wilderness of Egypt, where they felt like city life was too decadent, too fancy, too sinful, too luxurious, and so they wanted to go and simplify. So they began to simplify in a number of ways, and then they would gather together for protection. And you can read their stories in Thomas Merton's Sayings of the Desert Fathers, which is quite interesting, and it's related directly to the Egyptian Desert Fathers in a number of instances. It's very fascinating. So the monastic tradition is still ongoing. Many of them would be vegetarian or vegetarian for certain periods of their life as an ascetic practice, because they felt like meat is addictive. And so in order to recognize the addictive nature of meat, they would give up meat for periods of time and sometimes just live on bread or live on barley, like many of the prophets did, peace be upon them. So this is a very fascinating thing, and Egypt has a strong monastic tradition. And so we've got monasticism even in the middle of the city in the 21st century. So this goes all the way back. So this is a little bit of the Christian monastic background. You will find Saint Anthony is like an important Christian monk that you can go and you can visit his hermitage on the Red Sea on the way to Sina. And there are many famous monks from Egypt historically, and it had a tremendous impact on the development of Christianity in the East and the West. So we'll think about this a little bit more in the near future, and we're also going to think a little bit about comparative monasticism as well. So until next time, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.